This is Iron Lung. It's a recently released horror game that's set on a rusty submarine, and it was developed by David Szymanski. If that name means anything to you, you most likely know him as the developer of Dusk. Yeah, this is a bit different to that. Before Szymanski helped blow up the retro shooter revival, however, he had quite a history of making small horror walking sim titles. I haven't played all of them. I've only played Fingerbones and The Moon Sliver, not including Squirrel Stapler, the game where you hunt squirrels and staple them to your wife's decaying corpse to resurrect her and to see the face of God. Don't ask. I do quite like these though. Fingerbones is more of a proof of concept and its story isn't quite there, probably why it's free. But The Moon Sliver really shows off what these games are all about. They're short experiences that use interesting low-poly aesthetics with more modern lighting, as well as some terrifyingly good sound design, in order to tell a story and create a thick, oppressive atmosphere. And what could have more atmosphere around it than a submarine? Iron Lung is set in the far, far future. It's not Earth's sea you're diving down, it's an ocean of blood on an alien moon. Alright. Humanity apparently spread across the furthest stars, but those stars have been going out, and an almighty mass extinction is occurring across the universe called the Quiet Rapture. Stars blinking out, colonies dying off, humanity becoming separated, and, most worryingly, we don't know why it's happening. Then the ocean of blood is discovered, and exploring it is made a priority. You are a convict, and you have been told you can earn your freedom by completing this mission. Sadly, we're lacking equipment, so the submarine you're in isn't actually designed for these depths. To compensate, you are welded shut inside. Even the front window is closed off. Your only method of seeing outside is with a camera system mounted to the front of the machine. Several key areas of the trench need photographing. Off you go. Training? What's that? Piloting a submarine is easy. You'll pick it up, right? What's the worst that can happen? I should point out right now that doing a video on Iron Lung is kind of difficult. Not just because you spend the entire game in the same claustrophobic location, so a lot of this video honestly is going to look the same, but also because it is a very, very short experience. It says right on the store page that it's designed to take less than an hour. And I can confirm that, as my first playthrough took me exactly 59 minutes. What kind of mathematical genius is this man? I was surprised this game also carried a save system, because Szymanski's other short horror titles don't bother, because why? You can beat it easily in one session. Now, this might be a deal breaker for you, but the game is less than £5 on Steam, which I think is more than fair. Where I live, that's less than a fried chicken and chips takeaway, and that chicken certainly doesn't last 59 minutes, oh no. Sadly, both of these are just as bad for my heart. So for those of you interested in the game, bear in mind the length of this video makes up a pretty substantial portion of my playtime alone, and you may just want to dive in. Spoiler chat isn't going to come until way later, but even so. If you think a less than 1 hour adventure is worth the price of admission, then go for it. Plus, you could always play it again. Who knows what's out there? But to make it easy for you, how about I put my conclusions up front and we'll work backwards from them. Iron Lung is a wonderful horror experience. It makes good use out of the mechanics of operating a small rusty submarine without padding things out. It is the perfect length for what it sets out to do. It has, like Szymanski's other games, an excellent atmosphere that manages to keep you enthralled. Finally, though it's light on story, it manages to make you personally invested. I recommend it if any of this sounds like your jam. If any of you need further convincing, let's go through these points. Number 1. Great mechanics. So this isn't a walking sim. This is a submarine sim. Sort of. Your main cockpit has everything you need to know. The coordinates of your current position, the current bearing of your submarine, your oxygen inside the submarine, and this measures how in your depth you are. It's looking pretty low right now. And behind you is the deep sea picture station, which takes photos of whatever is currently in front of your submarine. And there's even a trusty fire extinguisher for mental well-being. Everything you need to operate a submarine. You're given a paper map to help you navigate, and by help, I mean it's your only method of navigation. You're welded in here, remember? You need to look at those coordinates in front of you, pull out the map, and then work out where you are in these caverns. And you know, this map isn't exactly high resolution. You're basically operating on a 2D grid, and thank God for that. Navigating a 3D cave would probably drive you insane. So you adjust your bearing and move forwards or backwards. Then check your map for where you are and what adjustments you need to make, and carry on. You need to get to these specific areas and point your submarine in the right direction, then take a photograph. You don't have to be exactly in the right spot to complete the objectives, but honestly, I was certainly trying to be. It's satisfying, you know? It's like putting the exact amount of fuel in your car without the horrors of fuel prices. And then you get a lovely grainy photograph of something. Well, it's objective complete anyway. On to the next one. I like that the map doesn't actually have an indicator of where you are. You actually have to orient yourself, and that keeps things super engaging. But there is actually more that can be done when navigating. Say the proximity sensor is going off while going through a tight space. You know what's happening, but it's not exactly a crystal clear picture of what's going on. You can take a photograph of what's in front of you and then work out how you need to navigate from there. These photos are of an actual environment outside of your submarine. The game is not lying to you, and there's no limits to the amount of photographs you can take, so you can just go nuts with it. It's genuinely fun and engaging piloting this thing. You know, when it's not. Oh. Is that bad? Don't worry, you don't have to manage maintaining the submarine too much. It's a rusty hunk of junk and it's barely holding itself together, but it should last until we're done, maybe? God, why is that noise? Oh God! The game's length also works in its favour here. There's just enough mechanical intrigue to stay fresh throughout without it feeling stale or samey. Honestly, it did make me wish for another game like it, but bigger and more in-depth, but that is not what this game is trying to be. I guess I'll just have to be content with Subnautica if I want more submarining adventures. Number 2. Excellent atmosphere. You are deep below an ocean of blood on an alien moon. I think that bears repeating, because the game really wants you to feel like that's exactly where you are. The noise of the submarine moving through the water, or the HEMA? Whatever, is fantastic. When you think about it, for all intents and purposes, it should feel like you're not moving, you're just in a box, but the sound really makes it feel like you are. And the noise of the machinery around you really layers on the atmosphere. Look at these photos too. You know that the developer has spent a long time looking at deep sea videos. Oh, why did I play this? And it's not just the noises of you piloting a decaying metal death trap that'll wrap you up. It's also the sound of the ocean cascading around you, and maybe what else is there. I don't like hearing that. That makes me really uncomfortable. Sadly, I'm trapped down here with it, and you know, it's not always the same noise. What the hell is out there? I would also be remiss not to mention the music, also composed by David Szymanski. It's not exactly melodic, but its droney ambience very much fits the mood. Which is just that extra wonderful bit that wraps everything up. It says on the store page that it was inspired by the soundtrack Aubrey Hodges made for the Doom PS1 and N64 soundtrack, and I believe it. Lastly, we have the fact the game feels personally investing. And this is a tricky thing to talk about, but I'll try my best. In this game, you don't control a submarine. You control a person who controls a submarine. I mentioned before that you're a convict, and that completing this mission will get you your freedom. Well, in a letter you can find in the submarine, you have some choice words about that arrangement. Not exactly an optimistic outlook here. You're always reminded that you are a human being when playing this game. See, you could have just positioned yourself sitting in one spot and had all the controls here for you. You just click on them with a mouse cursor, or even you use your keyboard for hotkeys and stuff like that, and off you sailed. Or swam, whatever a submarine does. But you don't. You have to look and press these buttons manually to control your vessel. You even have to turn around, go to the back of the vessel, in order to press the button to take photographs. This is explicitly trying to remind you that you are not just controlling a person, but also that you are alone. It's just you here. Think back to the story summary beforehand, how it talked about humanity dying off and vanishing, leaving only those who are off-world to survive however they could. You're not just alone in this submarine in the darkness, you're also alone in the universe. You're trying to collect yourself and survive something that you cannot even comprehend. Hope is as illusory as the starlight. Yeah, it kinda feels like it. And moving through the ocean of blood and taking photographs of things you can't even wrap your head around somehow makes you understand this situation more and more as you go on. Even though the backstory and the gameplay don't necessarily meet, they feel like they complement each other wonderfully. They reflect one another. But as I said, there's not actually much of a narrative going on. There's a reason I keep using the word experience when talking about this. The game wants to convey feelings of dread. It doesn't have characters acting out their struggles, and it feels like it doesn't need to. And that'd be out of place in a time when you're a convict, sealed in a submarine, believing yourself to be sent to die for the sake of a humanity that is desperately trying to survive somewhere that is beginning to feel both unfathomable and hostile. Right, I hope this has managed to convince you that this game is worth picking up. It's not long, but as you can probably tell, I got a lot out of it. But honestly, there's still even more I want to talk about. I'm not satisfied simply talking around the spooks here. A horror game is only as tense as the tricks it can pull, and Iron Lung has a few. The beats of this game lead you on a journey, and I want to detail for you the emotional trip that I took under the Blood Sea. This is literally me detailing what is basically the whole game and how each moment makes you, the player, feel. So, you know, spoilers. This will be almost like a let's play, honestly. There's not really going to be much analysis here, but I think it's worth pointing out what the game does and does well. If this has tickled your fancy, even slightly, pause the video, download the game, and then come back, and we can talk about the strange stuff in these waters. Or maybe you realise the game isn't for you, either because it's too intense, or maybe horror's just not your bag, but you want to hear more about it regardless. Either way, this is your last chance to leave. I really recommend experiencing it fresh. But you're the one in charge if you want to hear any more words out of my mouth. Go to here if you want to skip past all the spoilers. Okay? Alright. Down the hatch. So, our first few objectives go quite swimmingly. I mean, mostly. Bunch of strange things that I can't make heads or tails of. That's fine. I'm here to take photos, not analyze them. So after some tricky navigation over here, I just get to cruise on down to this objective here. No problem. What was that? Huh. Well, we've made it to our objective, okay, so let's just go and take our photo and... Hello? What on earth are you? Also, what's this? It might be nothing, but doesn't it kind of look like something? I take a second picture in the exact same spot. I don't like this. I continue onward, trying to put the whole incident out of my mind. But it's difficult. It's really difficult. I get to my next objective, I take the photo. I try not to let it faze me. It's the cover image for the game on the Steam page after all. It shouldn't unnerve me, and yet my mind is not listening to rational advice right now. Things are tense. The path to the next objective is also a bit of a squeeze, so I'm maybe in a bit of a sweat. Eventually I make it through. I go to the next spot, I take my photo, and... Now, it might be my brain here, but doesn't this look quite unnatural? Like constructed, almost like a house or a building of some kind? But wait a minute, those pillars, didn't I take a photo of them earlier? They were curvy then. Are they pipes or wires or something? What are they? I realise now they look different, but I don't remember it then. I try unsuccessfully to get a better look at it. No dice. Time to go out the way I came. I wish this was the least of my problems. What? I guess it must have been a blood clot or something. I return to my console and something's wrong. I'm not at the same coordinates I was before that noise. I sit here looking at my map and my current location for several minutes, genuinely questioning if I'd somehow missed myself moving such a distance so fast. How long was I holding that button for? Next objective. More bones. Maybe. Some strange things in the background too. I take a second photo, but there's no change. So, there's nothing there, right? I'm fine. There's nothing to worry about. Regardless, the music scares me into checking what's out there. I've maybe become a little bit paranoid. The path forward on the map is unclear, but I think there's a tunnel here. It's a little low resolution, but I've passed through fuzzy bits before. So, I start making my way up. The path seems a little precarious, so I take a photo to get my bearings. I am extremely uncomfortable. I make it through the tunnel or hallway and begin making my way to the next objective, whose route is stressful to say the least. But I can hear something. I don't think it's the game's music this time though. The audio shifts as I change my submarine's bearings, like it's coming from a specific location. The path down is treacherous. I am navigating by my camera going down. Suddenly, things start getting weird. That's not the submarine that's moving, and the noise is so loud now. I take the picture. I think I need to leave. Things begin to stabilize as I begin to move away from the anomaly. I am certain this is not where I was before. Resisting the urge to panic, I move to the next objective. This photo does nothing to calm me. I take more. Regardless, I continue onwards. The path through this tunnel should be clear. Oh, is it that thing again? Fuck. I am beginning to lose myself. I am not well, and panic is setting in. The lights begin to flicker, and as I'm approaching the final objective, I suddenly realize we're taking on blood. I try to calm myself. I end up playing a little game to soothe my nerves. It's the last objective, so why not get the coordinates exactly right? Just as they need to be. Perfect. This is the name of a demon. I'm convinced of it. We get more story saying that what's left of humanity could never ever gain the knowledge that we acquired. The species moves on and clings further to a hope that they're not even convinced they can see. So what was all this under here? Was this thing really just a big dumb fish? What was with all these things under here that almost looked like they were constructed? And what is that anomaly? Is the ocean of blood a former colony of humanity, where all the people just burst and flooded the place with their own juices? I don't know, and I'm not going to be a YouTube theorist channel analysing all the details here. It feels like the kind of thing that's meant to be a mystery forever. It's not meant to be answered, which ties into the overall hopelessness of the setting. But if you think that's a cop-out, maybe you'd like to hear that there are things in this ocean that aren't marked on the map that are being discovered. Maybe your answers lie elsewhere. Who knows what's out there? And that is Iron Lung. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Not every idea needs to be padded out into a 10-hour campaign. And since Flash is dead, small projects like this and ones made by others are the perfect way for me to get my fix. Absolutely worth the price of admission. That's enough horror for now though. Oh, I don't think my heart can take much more. Or much more fried chicken. Yeah, sure, that's a good enough joke to end on. Why not? Video over! See, if you just work with your MP3 player, it's not too bad.